Photo by David Dow, NBAE via Getty Images. The NBA All-Star selections always brings a new wave of conversation and takes for a couple of days. Player X was snubbed. His numbers are much better than player Y's and he carries less of a load. Expect to hear a great deal of this talk when the All-Star starters are revealed on Jan. 24, with reserves the week after on January 31st. This season's process has been interesting. Derrick Rose and Dwyane Wade are near the top of backcourt lists in their respective conferences. LeBron James and Giannis Antetokounmpo are in line to be the captains after the latest wave of voting was released on Jan. 17, with rookie Luka Doncic right on James's heels to captain one of the teams. The top vote-getter in each conference will then select their team on a live draft televised Feb. 7. Last year's draft was not televised, so the league opting to televise these selections makes for an event NBA Twitter will have fun with. For what it's worth, the last year's game was one of the best in recent years and seeing players team up for the first time was sweet to watch. As far as selection of players itself goes, the Eastern Conference seems far easier to select compared to the Western Conference. This was predictable given the amount of star power the West has, and the rise of play by certain individuals has made the decision of leaving multiple top 10 players in the NBA pretty difficult. The NBA is enduring as teams prep for the upcoming trade deadline and buyout season before the All-Star break hits. Carmelo Anthony being traded to the Chicago Bulls, reported by Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, was the biggest story of last week, and that doesn't change his situation at all since he won't play for the Bulls. The format remains the same in terms of the starters being made up of 2 backcourt players and 3 front-court players. With that being said, this article is focused strictly on my All-Star picks on who should start the game. Nitpick away. Page 2, photo by Brian Babino, NBAE via Getty Images. 4 of the 5 spots were simple to select. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the MVP frontrunner for the team with the best record in the NBA with 26.4 points, shooting 58.1% from the field, 12.5 rebounds, 6.0 assists, 1.5 blocks and 1.4 steals per game for the season. Kawhi Leonard is averaging a career high in points, 27.6, and rebounds per game, 7.9, while maintaining his otherworldly defense and pacing the Toronto Raptors to the most wins in the NBA. Joel Embiid is having a career year himself with his points, 27.1, rebounds, 13.1, assists, 3.6, and minutes, 33.4, being career highs on a per-game basis. His rim protection hasn't dropped a bit for a Philadelphia 76ers team that's 31-17 either. Lastly, Kyrie Irving has made waves for his leadership comments in post-game media sessions, but Uncle Drew is still mesmerizing with the ball in his hands and one of the best scorers in the NBA while taking on a more playmaking role. Career-high 6.9 assists per game for a Boston Celtics team trying to find its stride. The final guard spot was a little challenging, and perhaps too much time was spent trying to decide who'll join Kyrie. 4 options for the spot are Kyle Lowry, Ben Simmons, Victor Oladipo and Kemba Walker. All 4 are the primary ball handlers on teams currently in the playoffs while having impressive seasons individually, but the thought process behind this final selection was to represent the 5 best teams in the Eastern Conference with 1 starter. This means Oladipo gets the nod over the other 3. Kemba has the least amount of help and is the highest scorer, but has slowed down his scoring production in recent weeks. Lowry is arguably the Raptors' most important player and has led them to impressive wins when Kawhi rested, but the numbers outside of assists leave more to be desired. Simmons is the most versatile defender of the bunch with a nearly identical stat line compared to last season, but playing with Embiid and Jimmy Butler compared to Oladipo being the focal point of the Indiana Pacers. Swung the decision his way. Photo by Ron Hoskins, NBAE via Getty Images. Oladipo's numbers are slightly down from last season's most improved player winning campaign, but he's still the best player on the current 3 seed in the East. He's the best perimeter defender out of the guards in contention while being the Pacers' leading scorer, fourth leading rebounder, second leading assist man and leader in steals. He's the best all-around player of this group, and having the Pacers at the 3 seed is impressive. The argument against him is the decreased shooting percentages and the fact the Pacers went 7-4 in an 11-game stretch that Oladipo missed, but a 31-15 record overall is an achievement for this team. With players so close in terms of numbers and team success, vying to have the 5 best teams each have a starter seemed reasonable. D'Angelo Russell's run over the last month should put him in consideration, as should Bradley Beal's numbers without John Wall, but Oladipo wins out in the end over the other contenders. Page 3, photo by Jamie Schwaborough, Getty Images. This was a little more difficult. The only locks were the backcourt of Stephen Curry and James Harden. Damian Lillard and Klay Thompson are solid reserves, but Curry rivaling his 2015-16 unanimous MVP season and Harden setting scoring records puts them in a class above Dame and Klay. Harden is firmly in the MVP discussion once again with his crazy numbers, and Curry shouldn't be too far behind with his numbers and Golden State being 28-8 with him in the lineup. Narrowing the front court down to 3 was different story. Kevin Durant was the only lock out of the 3 spots. KD averaged 33.7 points, 8.5 rebounds and 6.1 assists a night during an 11-game stretch without Curry, and Draymond Green missing 9 of them. He remains the most fluid scorer in the league and one of the best defenders in the NBA, which makes him the easiest choice here. The final 2 spots were between 4 players: Anthony Davis, Nikola Jokic, Paul George and LeBron James. PG is the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year award and is averaging career highs across the board while taking the mantle as the best player on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Anthony Davis continues to put up career highs in points, 29.3, rebounds, 13.3, assists, 4.4, and steals, 1.7, but his New Orleans Pelicans are 22-25 and 3 games back in the playoff race. Each of them has been exceptional while somehow adding new wrinkles to their games, but the other 2 get the remaining starting spots. Nikola Jokic is the offensive and defensive centerpiece of a Denver Nuggets team that's 1 game back of the 1 seed. Every starter sans Joker has missed time, and there's no player in the NBA like him. Whether it's facilitating, shooting from deep or bullying opponents down in the post, Jokic does everything for the Nuggets. The final selection is LeBron James. The argument against LBJ is that he's missed 14 games and counting. That's over a quarter of the games so far, but Curry has missed around a quarter of his team's games too. Kawhi rarely plays on back-to-backs and has missed 12 games. So why exactly is LeBron missing 2 or 3 more games than those 2 such a big deal? Photo by Chris Elise, NBAE via Getty Images. The Kings' impact on the Los Angeles Lakers is crystal clear. They are 5-9 in the 14 games he's missed, which includes losses at home to the Cleveland Cavaliers and New York Knicks, 2 teams not exactly trying to win games. His numbers are as consistent as ever, and the Lakers were the 4 seed before his injury. He will likely win the fan vote to captain one of the teams, but his starting spot case is simple. Watch the Lakers without him, and they're a lottery team. With him, they are in a tier just below Golden State, and that comes down to LeBron. PG plays with 1 All-Star and was difficult to omit, but he's not asked to do as much as LeBron and the others offensively. The Brow plays with Drew Holiday and other solid pieces. LeBron's playing with young players and well past their prime veterans that nobody wanted in free agency. The missed games don't hurt his case, they elevate it. Page 4. Use your arrows to browse. Photo by Theron W. Henderson, Getty Images. A clash north of the border, an NBA Finals preview and 2 of the longest teams meeting in the Midwest highlight this week's games to watch. Sacramento Kings at Toronto Raptors, Jan. 22. The Sacramento Kings have slowed down in their pursuit of a playoff position, but they remain an exciting watch with their style of play and litany of young players. The Toronto Raptors play at a quick pace themselves and are a stiff test for the Kings. The youthfulness of the Kings against the depth and experience of the Raptors makes this a solid watch. Golden State Warriors at Boston Celtics, January 26. The preseason favorites to meet in the NBA Finals matchup for the first time this season in Boston. The Golden State Warriors are in full stride with DeMarcus Cousins joining a team atop the Western Conference. The Boston Celtics haven't found that level of consistency they covet but are a strong home team and have fared well against top competition. The individual matchups speak for themselves, but Kyrie vs. Curry is always must-see TV. Next, Week 15 NBA Power Rankings. Milwaukee Bucks at Oklahoma City Thunder, Jan. 27. Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks get a road test against the Oklahoma City Thunder in his matchup between two of the longest teams in the NBA. There's star power on both teams, but Brook Lopez forcing Steven Adams away from the rim could force OKC to alter its defensive scheme or throw Paul George and Jeremy Grant on an island against Giannis. Use your arrows to browse.